Hey up everybody, welcome back to the Aldo Cycling YouTube channel, where today I'm going to be doing a quick preview of the European Champs. This is going to be the next round of the Superclasico series, and really it's going to be a sprinter's course, so really there could be some judgment that I could provide in this preview, but mainly it's going to be a bit of a roulette and perhaps a bit lucky as to who you might pick that could finish, inside the top 10 for example. But let's start with the most expensive riders. You've got Fabio Jakobsen and Nizzolo. Nizzolo isn't taking part anymore. There was a release this morning on Twitter that I saw which said that Nizzolo is still suffering from a crash he had the other day, so he won't be taking part, which does open up some other options for Italy. But Jakobsen at 24, it's a course which, it does suit him. It's not overly difficult, and Jakobsen with a very strong Dutch team is probably going to be the favourite going into this race, so I'd say that he is a good pick. Of course, his form hasn't looked too great recently. After the Tour, he's only done one race. He DNF'd it, so you don't really know what his form's like. But I think that Jakobsen's such a good sprinter, he's probably a bit of a must-have to put onto your team just from a safety point. You got Pedersen, who again, similar to Jakobsen, you don't know what his form's like after the Tour. At the end of the Tour, he was ill, and then he hasn't really raced since then, so you don't know where his form's at. But again, Pedersen's very good at sprinting on one-day races and messy sprints, and he's got Michael Morkov as his lead-out man, so that's a very influential part as to why Pedersen might be a good pick. Sam Bennett hasn't looked very great this year, and with a kind of not massive Irish team, because of course they lower down the UCI ranking, I'm not sure Bennett's a particularly great pick. Ackermann, this is a home race, I guess you could call it, because it's in Germany, but there is also Bauhaus on the team. I'm not sure which one they might go for, whether they try sprint for both of them. I think that if I was to make a call, I'd say that Ackermann, because he launches generally a bit early, would be a bit of a better lead-out man compared to Bauhaus, but that's still to be decided. I don't know which way I'm going to go. I think that Demare's quite a safe one for 20 points, just because he is probably going to be the sprinter for France. All the other guys like Ugo Hofstetter, Brian Cockard probably don't have the out-and-out speed on a flat sprint to compete with some of the other sprinters in this field. So I think that Demare's a good one for 20. Ganna for 20. He's just going to be a worker, so I probably wouldn't choose him. Christoph's looked on fire recently, and although it's a bit of a flat sprint, not a very hard day, that doesn't suit Christoph massively. I would still be surprised if Christoph finished outside the top 10 in this race. So I think that he's a very safe pick as well. So is Tim Merlier, a very good sprinter on a one-day race, and I think that he's almost a must-have pick. Team Belgium always pull out all the stops for these one-day races, and of course he's going to Quick-Step next year, and I think that Patrick Lefevere would really quite like to have a European Champs jersey in his team. And then I'm going to start picking out some specific riders. You've got Ivan Garcia Cortina. He will probably be the sprinter for Spain, in my opinion. Danny Van Poppel, if Jakobsen isn't on a good day, then they would probably go with him. Like I said earlier, there's Cockard and Hofstede. Luka Mezgec would probably be the fastest sprinter for Slovenia, so a bit of a cheaper option there for you. There is Bauhaus for 12. That's a good choice, considering that you're going to need to make some compromises in some picks here and save some credits. So Bauhaus would be a good one to try and save a few points there. You could also go Rasmus Tiller. I think that Alberto Dainese is very underrated at 10 credits. Just because Nizzolo's now out, I think that he's the fastest guy in this team. He's of course won a stage of Giro this year. He's very fast, and I think that Dainese could certainly finish inside the top 5. I don't think that he'd win, but he'd certainly be a rider who would be up there. And other than that, I think that 6-point riders, you've got Arnaud Demare for Poland. They have a relatively large team because they're quite high up the UCI ranking, but I think that they lack an out-and-out sprinter. Their fastest guy is Arnaud Demare, who got a couple of top 10s, I think, at the recent Tour of Poland. So if he could finish maybe top 15, that would be quite a good return, in my opinion. Eduard Grosu, probably the sprinter for Romania. He's probably not fast enough to be competing for a top 10, but a top 20 could certainly be possible, which would be pretty good considering that this is a Category 2 race. You've got Manuel Peñalva, who I think is another sprinter for Spain, but I think he'll be the lead-out man for Ivan Garcia Cortina. And then in terms of 4-point riders, there aren't too many to go out. I'd probably be going for assist points with Jonathan Milan, possibly. I think that Milan, considering how good he looked at Tour of Poland, could also serve as a lead-out man and be very fast, and perhaps pick up even a top 10 on a really good day. But other than that, you may be looking at some of the Norwegian riders, the Danish riders, and just getting assist points in that sense. This is one team that I've got at the moment. I think that it's pretty strong. The only way that I'd really change it is to swap out Dainese and Arnaud for Bauhaus and Jonathan Milan. This instead. Those are the two iterations that I've got, but let me know what teams you're thinking of going with in the comments down below. I hope this was helpful, and all that is left to say is keep safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut!